Chapter 2. I will stand upon my watch, and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Now, what it's meaning right here about this run part, and make it plain upon the tables that he may run that readeth it, that's speaking of his eyes running quickly across it. Make it very legible. That way anyone who's reading it can go quickly across it. That's how important that this little book of Habakkuk is. I do believe that it's also speaking to us today and showing us a foreshadowing of what is to come in these latter days. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Once again, the Apostle Paul also quoted this. And this particular verse does stand out in the Old Testament, which is why Paul uses it as evidence for the gospel. Because even back then, faith has always been the root of what a man has to have in order to gain grace from God. It just wasn't so revealed until Christ. But the promise here looks beyond the temporal future of the Chaldeans and Israelites and unto a reward that is eternal. We see how naturally the principle here enunciated is applied by the Apostle Paul to teach the doctrine of justification by faith in Christ. Verse 5, Yea also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. There's believed by the commentators that this may be alluding to the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar, that of Belshazzar, in which he drinks wine from the cups. But the Babylonians were known for their excessive drinking escapades and their festivals in which would wind up everyone drunk and committing so many lewd acts with one another. But notice, such men are likened unto hell, who enlargeth his desire as hell. This is speaking more of the Babylonian kings, but really any evil king, such as the Antichrist will be, who enlargeth his desire as hell. Now what that's meaning is, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. That's the reason, because hell takes in so much and is never satisfied. It takes in all the nations, all the people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him, the first woe out of 5. Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. There's a little bit of a divide among the commentators about what this thick clay actually means, but I like Benson's comment on it. Gold and silver, probably so called, being nothing originally but earth or clay, and what should not turn to his benefit, but rather be his burden, adding weight to his sins and punishment. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them. Now this is, of course, speaking of the Medes and Persians overtaking the Babylonians, how they'll suddenly become mighty and overthrow the Babylonians. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, and of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. This is the second woe. That he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timbers shall answer it. Woe to him, the third woe, woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by iniquity. Now what is meant by the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber? Every stone in those giant walls, reared by the enforced labor of captives, cries aloud to accuse the Babylonian. They're all witnesses against him. This is very lovely and horrifying imagery, really. Every spar out of the woodwork attests the charge. Every beam out of the woodwork attests to this. Behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity? He's speaking of how the cities in which they're so laboring to have built and are putting so much pain into will just be nothing but dust and annihilated. There'll be nothing. They'll not stand. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink. Now here's the fourth woe on drunkenness, that puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. Thou art filled with the shame for glory. You see, they wanted glory. They wanted to be great in the land, but instead they acquired shame. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be only thy glory. Meaning that shame would replace their glory. For the violence of Lebanon located to the north of Israel, for the violence of Lebanon shall cover thee, and the spoil of beast, which made them afraid because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Now, what is meant by the violence of Lebanon? In essence, the violence done to Lebanon. Lebanon is not a figure for the Holy Land, but used literally here. Both Assyrians and Babylonians, whenever their campaigns brought them to Lebanon, transported the wood, which Lebanon is known for their cedars of Lebanon, the great cedars. They transported wood from Lebanon for their temples and other edifices. They used it for evil, and this same violence would be cast back upon the Babylonians. Verse 18, What profiteth the graven image that the maker thereof hath graven it? The molten image, and a teacher of lies, that the maker of his work trusteth therein, to make dumb idols. Woe unto him that saith to the wood, Awake! To the dumb stone, Arise! It shall teach. What fools! Behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath at all in the midst of it. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Look at the contrast. We go from these sticks and stones to all of a sudden the great creator of the whole earth. Let all the earth keep silence before him. The consideration of his infinite perfections, his self-existence, independence, supremacy, immensity, eternity, his omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence, his unspotted holiness, his inviolable truth, and impartial justice, and especially his sovereign authority and dominion, should strike all men with a reverential awe.